All right, this is going to be a series that we'll use, whether it's in hamstring rehab or really any lower body running rehab, when we are starting to see that we're not getting as effective at kind of bracing on the ground as the leg's coming through, I have to brace on that leg, and then essentially the other leg comes through. So whether it is with that initial kind of landing phase or even with the swing phase, this is kind of some stuff that we'll do to work on that more than anything. So first thing we'll do, you have a kind of bar or a rack here, honestly, whatever you prefer more than anything. And the big thing with all of this is we want to have a very stacked pelvis and core. So I'm going to show you what that doesn't look like at first. So what we see more than anything is when someone goes to swing, they kind of fall into this kind of dumped forward lumbar position. When they come back, they're here. So their pelvis is all over the place. And with hamstring rehab especially, that's a bit of a concern because you are now manipulating your pelvis position, which is either going to put more stress on the hamstring and is going to essentially cause, potentially more fatigue, tightness, or from a re-injury standpoint, or you're not going to have as effective of a stride one of these. So these are things we want to kind of clean up from that standpoint. And you'll know early on when you're going through rehab, like whether someone is a candidate for this or not, because just basic core work or their ability to stabilize their kind of lumbopelvic region while they have arm movements or leg movements is challenging for them. So what that's going to look like, the first version, we just want to teach them how to create that stacked pelvis position. So let's say it is my right leg doing the movement and it's my left side that is bracing on the ground. So I just want to get up to this kind of like figure four position here. And all I want to think of is, again, a tall pelvis. My quad is engaged, my glute is squeezed. I'm not leaned back all the way like this. I have a little bit of a lean forward in this rib down position. It's going to feel very foreign to a lot of people. It's almost going to feel too forward because most people fall into this very extended back position, which again is a lack of good core and pelvic stability. So we're going to be here. And all I want to do initially is I'm probably just going to have them hold this position here more than anything. And what you're going to realize really quickly is you're going to have a lot of hip flexor involvement on this right side. Hip flexor gets a really bad rap for a lot of stuff. You have to use your hip flexors when you're doing a lot of this stuff. In my opinion, when you have proper lumbopelvic stability, you are going to feel a good amount of hip flexor recruitment on that kind of pull-through phase there. Because if you don't have that, well, what happens is you start to get a lot of adductor involvement. Part of your adductors work as flexors, no doubt about that. But if you start to have a lot more adductor work instead of your true hip flexors from a psoas standpoint, that adductor gets overloaded very quickly and just throws off the kind of pelvic mechanics. So, again, we're going to be here. We're just going to be holding this position. Tall, stacked, that's it. So now, from here, what we're going to do is we're going to come back down, and we're just going to kind of go through that movement here, striking underneath, coming up. So the big things I'm looking for, again, is they're staying stacked down. Listen, use this for leverage, too. Kind of push down into it, give yourself a little bit extra to kind of lock it down, and then go from there. So we're adding a little bit more dynamic component to it. Now, what we're going to do then is we're just going to start from right at the side here, and we're just going to kind of raise up, down, down. And again, you can see even I struggle with it, but we're really trying to just emphasize that stacked pelvis on that stance leg on the left side here as we go through that movement. So that's our kind of next progression. Isometrically here, a little more dynamic. You can go isometrically here at first. It's going to be really challenging because it's a longer lever for that hip flexor to control. But then we're now going to add a little bit more of a swing into it. So they're not going to, it's not going to be pure straight. Most people are not going to be able to clear the ground with that straight leg. So it's going to have a little bit of a bend to it, which is okay. But again, we're going to be here, standing stacked on that left side, and I'm kind of coming forward, back. Now, what I don't want it to look like is if someone's like, well, I got to get further. Now they're here, and they kind of come all the way back. So now, again, you can see I've completely lost my posture, my trunk position. That's going to be good from a just kind of sprinting standpoint. So, again, we're here, stacked over, and if it's a shorter range at first, that's fine. I just want them to get used to feeling how to not get thrown out of that pelvis position like this, okay? So that's what that looks like. So now what we're going to do, we are going to start from a kind of back extended position. We're in our good stance leg position, and all I'm doing from here is I'm just pulling up. Back, pull up. Back, pull up. So again, making sure you're holding here. You're not kind of falling into that hip more than anything. Now the last piece of it is now we're going to add in some cycling. So I see cycling done a lot online, and cycling is not a bad drill. I like it because it is teaching. There's different ways to teach it. Some people teach it from the standpoint of kind of striking the ground, which I agree with that. I think there's benefit to that. However, if you teach that without the ability to stabilize above, I just don't think it's as effective. So again, what I want to focus on more than anything is we're stabilizing on that stance leg here, and we're just nice and easy kind of cycling through. So you're out, pull in, through, out, pull in, through, out. And you're still striking kind of like you're striking a match underneath. But again, I really want to make sure we're not kind of like falling into that hip as we're coming through. So again, nice rigid position. You're going to have a little bit of a trunk forward position and go. And as you're doing this, like if you do this correctly and go through this series, you're going to feel some core engagement. If not, there's probably something that needs to be involved. Sprinting is a very core dominant and core stabilizing event. And when it's not done properly, that's where some other stuff kind of gets thrown out of whack. And what I will say is not everyone's going to be a perfect sprinter, no doubt about that. But in the context of rehab, there is a big implication, in my opinion, of running mechanics, and you need to make sure you're finding the right drill that's for the right guy. So we just did probably, 6, maybe 7 exercises. I can't remember off the top of my head. We did a good amount. I might only do those first 2 of just the static holds for a guy for a long time. Like they might not necessarily get through those entire progressions if it's just a low grade soft tissue injury running progression. But I want to have this in the back of my mind of how do we kind of slow drip this into their prep throughout the rest of the season, off season, wherever they're at in that time. And the big thing is you have to spend a good amount of time under tension. So like for me, doing just a couple here like this for like 5 reps doesn't really do much. Like I want to go for a little bit longer time. So we're going to go for maybe like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 45. Again, more time under tension, more awareness, more teaching that stability. Again, that stability, postural awareness of, hey, this is where I want it to be in a somewhat dynamic environment.